And joining us now here on In the Circle, she is the head coach at Iowa, entering her third season, but fittingly will be starting her season on February 26th in Florida. I feel like that we've said that before. We speak of Renee Gillispie, who joins us here on In the Circle. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, Eric. Thank you for having me.
I feel like we've done this before. We've done a season preview where your team starts the season in Florida. I feel like we've done this in the past. Just saying.
Yeah, a few times, probably for about 18 years. Yeah.
All right. So that's obviously been the big news that came out from the Big Ten. Obviously, conference schedule came out, 44 games scheduled, conference only, starting the season in Leesburg, Florida. You're going to spend a couple weeks there. Just take us through the process from the coach's standpoint and the league standpoint on how this all came about.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of it is due to COVID. There was so much question in the fall when we're starting football season and figuring out how that's going to look. Football started their season as a Big Ten only schedule, and we kind of led that into the Big Ten, kind of led that into all the other sports. I think we're the only conference in the country right now that's playing conference only. And it's exciting in one way. We're getting 44 games in with conference only. And they decided that was probably the best way to make sure that we keep everyone healthy in that bubble and able to get our season in. So every sport that you see, with this exception, maybe basketball, had a couple non-conference games. Everybody else in the Big Ten have been playing conference-only schedules.
Also helps from a traveling standpoint, staying in within the league, sort of a friendlier travel, right? Is that part of the reason why you're in Florida, is so you can sort of eliminate some of the further travels that you normally would have to do during conference play?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Eric. We're actually looking to play five of our further away teams in the two tournaments that we're in Florida. So we're actually doing a bubble or a pod schedule that we're doing in Florida. So the first weekend we've got Michigan State, and Ohio State. We play a double header. We got 3 days down there to play double headers for each of those teams. And then coming back, we'll have a weekend off, and then we'll go back down to Florida. And Skeeter's done a great job helping us out, getting us in Leesburg, getting that tournament kind of a bubble tournament for us, making sure everybody is safe. And so the following week, then we'll come back and we'll do a 3-game series with two of the remaining teams, which is going to be Maryland and Penn State. And you're right, those are the furthest distance teams from us, and we kind of scheduled it that way so we get a chance to play everybody in the Big Ten.
You mentioned Skeeter. Tell us about Skeeter, that those who may not be aware, and her role in all this to make this help happen, because obviously she owns some facilities in Florida and tournaments, and gives here the opportunity for the Big Ten to use a place here to try to get good weather and get some games in.
Yeah, Skeeter's been fantastic to work with. We've actually went down last year, and two of our tournaments, we actually played in her tournament down there in the Tampa area. She has tournaments all over Orlando, Florida, Tampa area. We were in Madeira Beach. That's where we played the first 2 weekends out, and actually gave us a chance to go down there and have a week of training last year in January. So she's been a huge help to make this happen. Hutch at Michigan's been talking to her. She's kind of been our liaison to Skeeter to set all this up. And she put all the hotels together so the teams are in a bubble hotel. Then she was able to send out information to all of our parents and get that information out to them, so that if they want to stay in our hotels with us, they can. We're recommending that we keep that bubble, the teams in those bubbles in the hotels separately. And there's a lot of rules and regulations that go along with making this happen. But she's covered pretty much everything you can imagine, from testing to umpires, to fans, how the fans are going to be coming in, how they're going to be meeting the teams. And she's covered everything for us to be safe and in that bubble for those 2 weekends.
Is it one of those deals where, hey, we don't care where we play or who we're playing, let's just get on the field and play, right, after all this long layoff here and everything that's gone on?
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, you talk all the time about last year's schedule being canceled and how hard that was on everybody. And we've really been stronger because of it. We're much more flexible now. We're able to adjust when things happen, and we kind of go with the flow now, which is good to see that our young players are understanding kind of how to do that, how to make those adjustments. So going from that year to this year, we're just thrilled to have a season, not knowing what that season was going to look like. We would have loved to have 56 games, have a normal season, but having 44 games and having conference only, we're just excited about getting out and making things happen. I think with baseball, they're actually doing some pods for baseball,
Yeah.
trying to get certain teams together in certain areas of the United States so they can play more games also. But we've just been fortunate to do this.
Scheduled to start the season on February 26th, a couple weeks later than normal. Big deal, no deal, maybe an advantage because you get an extra couple weeks to prep and make sure the players are ready to go physically in shape and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of helped us this year because we've actually started classes later, getting them back to school about 2 weeks later than normal. It was good to have those 2 weeks to prepare for that first outing. But of course, I mean, it's such a long wait from, we talked about it's been a year since we've last played. And to have it to wait another 2 weeks has been tough. We want to get out there, we want to play. The girls are very excited about having this opportunity to get out and have a game again. You can only scrimmage each other so long until it's like let's find somebody else to play. So it's going to be nice to be able to have that schedule. But I think it was good to have that 2 weeks, kind of like I said, 2 weeks later in classes, getting them a chance to come back and be prepared for it.
We teased and joked a little bit at the beginning about how we've done these previews before with you starting games in Central Florida area. Obviously, head coach at UCF for 18 seasons. So does that help you in that regard that you're familiar with the area, you're familiar with the region, and even when you've been here in the first couple seasons, you've brought your team to Florida. You've brought them in the fall to practice. You've brought them in here during the seasons. You mentioned Clearwater last year. You played in Disney a couple years ago. Do you feel that gives you an advantage, whereas other coaches maybe have to make a bigger adjustment because they don't come down to Florida as often?
Yeah, I don't know that it's an advantage because we have so many freshmen this year that haven't experienced that. But I think with the older kids, the Duceys that have been with us the last 2 years and have that travel, I think she's comfortable with playing down there. This is a brand new field, so we haven't been on this field before. It may be where we're getting out for the very first time that day before we play. That's a little nerving, is not being on dirt, not being able to see some fly balls. So it's just going to be hard. The season's hard. The schedule is tough. Playing Big Ten only, it's going to be a very tough schedule for all of us. But I want to say it's advantage. I think for a few of them that might be comfortable going to Florida, but you've got 10 new freshmen that have never had that opportunity. So it should be interesting.
Well, having living right now in Florida, I could tell you we just had a big cold front. It was in the 60s over here this week, so
Yes.
hopefully, I think you'll be all right when you get back here in a couple of weeks.
I'm feeling for you, Eric. I really.
Let's talk about your team here and your roster. How was your roster affected with the cancellation, but yet the spring athletes getting a year of extra eligibility as a result of the 2020 season being shut down? How has that affected your roster, not only currently, but in the future with recruiting because of a numbers game?
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens with the younger players. We're seeing it right now. I feel like the seniors and juniors in high school are really at a big disadvantage because so many of the players have an opportunity to come back for their fifth year. We've been fortunate to bring Donnie Ray Mayhew back and Allison Ducey. The two of them came back for their fifth year. They're doing great for us right now. Getting that leadership on the team and having that extra year with them has been helping our freshmen kind of step up and understand their role. But it is hard. I mean, we've finalized our schedule for our roster for next year. We've got 10 new players coming in next year. We're losing 7 seniors. And then the class behind that, we're pretty much done with the junior class, but you're seeing so many players out there right now that just aren't getting the opportunity to recruit. They're not getting a chance to get seen. It's just gonna be tough for them. And I hope that as players, they keep working hard. They just show what they have this summer. We get a chance to get out this summer. They'll get a chance to find a school that'll fit for them.
You mentioned Ducey. She returns. Big for your pitching staff to have that 1-2 punch that you had from last year in Ducey and Lauren Shaw. How have they looked to you as they get ready for the season, and then the rest of the pitching staff behind them?
Yeah, the two have really come back and has been throwing really well. Allison's in her second year in her master's program. She's a woman among girls right now. She's definitely given us everything we can with having a fifth year senior. And Lauren Shaw, the two of them were just a dynamic duo last year. To have them both back and being able to have each other's back is huge. But we've got some great pitchers that came in. Look at Denali Lekker. I mean, she's one that's a freshman coming in, play first base. She pitches good offensive stick. She's going to have a whole package for us. I keep an eye on her. I see some good things from her. And then Maggie Peterson, she's a little Iowa girl that came in that she's walking on with us, but she's really showing some good stuff for us. A lot of spin, a lot of movement. You're going to see a lot of good things from her too. So we're excited about having those players coming back. You saw Sarah Lehman from last year. She had quite a few innings. Actually came on really strong towards the end of the season last year. She's also a senior, and I think you're going to see some good things from her too.
You've had a lot of great pitchers throughout your career, from Texas Tech to UCF. Allison Kime was a UCF Athletic Hall of Famer. Shelby Turney was an All-American. Mackenzie Audis. Even at Texas Tech, you had an All-American pitcher. You got to a regional final. Talk about Ducey and Shaw and comparing them to some of the pitchers you've had there. And what is your philosophy when it comes to pitching? Because you've had success everywhere you've had with pitching staffs. You were among the top Big Ten pitching staff when the season came to an end in 2020 because of Ducey and Shaw.
Yeah, I think they're right there with Allison and with Shelby. They have such great tools. And when you're looking for pitchers, I mean, you're looking for a pitcher that wants to compete. You want to have a pitcher out there that's going after the batters. And these two have that competitive edge. But they're also really good at being able to hit, 8 out of 10 times, 80% of their best pitches. And that's what we look for. We look for pitchers that have that one pitch that they can go to and be able to make adjustments in the speed. We talk all the time about change-ups and off speeds and being able to throw the batters off. And every pitcher we've had over the past, that I've had over the past 25 years has been able to do that. And you're going to see that with both Allison and with Lauren Shaw. They have the ability to keep the batters off balance, and they're very competitive. So you're going to love seeing them come back. It's fun to be able to have Ducey back one more year with Lauren, and I think we're going to start where we left off last year.
You mentioned, where you left off. I mean, you had great momentum. This is a program that hadn't had a winning season since 2013 up until 2020. Haven't made the postseason there. The belief of learning how to win, that was a huge step for your team in 2020. That's probably the big positive from 2020 you carry from 21, right? Was learning how to win as a team that hadn't won prior to your arrival in a while.
That's exactly right, Eric. So much of building programs is about belief and believing in each other and fighting for each other. This group has come together last year and really understood what that looks like. We were fortunate enough to have the program come in. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a Navy SEALs program. They do a lot of programs across the country. But they came in and really helped kind of show the players what it means to fight for each other, what it means to have each other's back. And they did a great job of giving us that base to build off of this past year. They've been with us all summer this past year. I have to get my lights here. Hold on. They've been with us all summer long, kind of helping out with the leadership side of it. And you're seeing the results of that now. Our upperclassmen are really stepping up. They're taking that leadership role. They're getting excited about leading this team and having the opportunity to get us into postseason. And our sights are always on the World Series. I think any team that doesn't have their sights on the World Series doesn't have their sights in the right place. If you're going to be coaching Division I and you're going to be trying to be your best, you have to have the players believe that the World Series is your ultimate goal, and that is ours. So our first step is to be competitive in the Big Ten, and we didn't have that chance last year to do that, to show that. So it's going to be neat to be able to have just a Big Ten schedule this year to kind of prove ourselves.
We're speaking with Iowa head coach Renee Gillispie here on In the Circle. 17-5 last season in 2020, and offensively you were led by Nia Carter, Kalena Burns. Carter hit .509 on the season. Burns 403 with 5 homers and 20 RBIs. The homers and RBIs obviously led your team there. Offensively, you had big improvements from your first season. You're hitting .283 by the time the season came in. But just talk about Carter and Burns and the impact they've had on your program and your offense.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, you look at freshmen last year. So they came in and they showed the next level of what we should be looking for, what we should be recruiting. And Nia and Kalen are both from California. Those two came in and wanted to prove, that Iowa should be a contender, that Iowa should be in the top 25 in the country. And you see the stats. I mean, what freshman comes in and hits over 500 in a freshman year? I mean, that's just unheard of. But she's a tough out. She's one of the toughest outs that we have for any one of our pitchers, which is making our pitchers better in the process. But those two are leading the pack with our younger players. And the freshmen we have coming in are just kind of feeding off of what they did last year. They see the results of hey, you can be competitive in Division I. You can be competitive as a freshman. You can come in and set a standard, and they're doing that this year. Both of them are coming back. Both of them, looking at starting positions. Kalina looking at first base, and Nia in the outfield. And they're just kind of setting the stage for us. And it's great to have them as sophomores now. You got a year under their belt. They know what to expect, and yeah, looking for great things from them.
Who are some of the new faces that you're bringing into this team to add to the momentum that the veterans are starting to feel? Who are the new faces that the Iowa Hawkeye fans can kind of be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so our freshman class, you'd be looking at probably 3 to 4 freshmen probably on the field, in the starting lineup. Grace Baines has really locked down center field. She's a utility player. She plays short second, but she's really locking down that center field position for us. So be looking for her. She's like Nia. She's a tough out at the plate. You look at Sammy Diaz. She's a California kid. Again, shortstop, third base, plays outfield. Probably looking at third base for her. Keep an eye on Sammy. Again, a tough out at the plate, but just great hands defensively. She's really solid and is going to pretty lock down third base for us. Those are the main 2 kids. And then you look at Denali that we talked to earlier, first base, looking at on the mound. She's an offensive threat. And then behind the plate, our catcher, Marissa Peak. She's one that came in from Missouri, very strong arm. Kid's just a competitor, again, strong bat. So I think you're going to be looking at 3 to 4 starting freshmen this year, along with our 2 sophomores. So it's going to be a very young team this year. Bringing in, having our senior pitchers with Lauren and Ducey being able to lock down on the mound for us. I think you're going to have a very solid defense out of that young class.
You mentioned your freshman Denali. Is it Lekker? Lekker. Very good. By the way, I think you might be the first head coach ever to coach a Denali in 2 different schools. Just throwing that. Because you coached at UCF a Denali Shoppocker who made an impact as a freshman.
You did.
How do you compare Denali Lekker, who's a freshman out of Ogden, Iowa, and the impact she might make right away compared to when Shoppocker did her freshman year for you?
Well, totally 2 different players. So you're looking at Denali from UCF. She's more of a speed kid. She's outfielder. She can play infield, but she's more of a speed kid, getting on base, putting havoc on defense. And Denali Lekker, she's basically a power hitter, first baseman. She's one that's going to change the course of the game with one swing. So 2 different kids, but great names. They're both.
I love the name. Love the name. It's like great. It's like a great name, and you could spell it. But she's going to make a big impact. You mentioned the power hitter. She is.
Yes.
You got her from your backyard, and that's something you've emphasized when you first got to Iowa. One of the things was keeping the kids in the Iowa area here, keeping them close. You've been able to do that with some of the recruiting you've done. Talk about that process of getting those kids, Iowa kids, to stay in the state of Iowa and come to Iowa.
Yeah, it's been a fun process, actually, being able to get back out and meeting the high school coaches and the summer league coaches and getting an idea of who our best players are out of the state of Iowa and really having that communication and that commitment to keeping them in Iowa. Denali came in from a small Ogden, Iowa. I mean, a small school. She was at state tournament, won a state championship for them. She's a player that most people wouldn't have got a chance to see, but we've got some great talent in Iowa, and we're excited about having that opportunity to keep them in Iowa. Our class next year, we have 5 players from the state of Iowa coming to us. So it's like, you're right. If we're at the state of Iowa and we're at University of Iowa, we should be focusing on making sure that got the best kids coming out of the state.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing Lekker play, and that's going to be a big boost there for your offense because that's the one missing piece, right? Like, you've kind of helped in the other offense, but power, you're trying to upgrade your power game from what you've done in the first 2 seasons. That's one of the keys to your offense improving this year, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I mean, you saw that with Kalina Burns bringing her in,
Yeah.
and Nia, she's not a power hitter, but she's a doubles hitter, good speed on the bases. Denali, power hitter, Marissa, power hitter. You're going to see these kids stepping up and being able to change that course of a game. We talked about that early. We have to have that, but we also have to have speed. We're probably lacking a little bit this year on our speed. If you remember, our teams at UCF were all about.
Yep.
A lot of speed in the bases, put a havoc, getting the ball in play, making things happen. And we're not quite there yet on the speed side of it, but we are at power side of it. We're definitely getting the power kids in place to be successful.
How you feel about your defense? Because you've always, you talk about your pitching, but you have good defense behind your pitchers usually. That's the recipe. How is your defense looking as you get set to start the season behind your deep pitching staff?
Yeah, you're right. We rely on our defense to win games. Our offense is getting stronger. We're getting the power hitters, like you said, into lineup. But defensively, we always pride ourselves on being a strong defensive team. You've got Avery Guy, who's coming back. She was DMAC transfer, Iowa kid. She's going to probably lock down shortstop side. Airly Bogart coming back, senior this year from Texas, probably locking down the second base position. And so you got Sammy at third. We're talking about a freshman at third. Kalina Burns, sophomore at first base. Marissa Peak, freshman behind the plate. And then the outfield, Baines that we talked about, just a solid kid in center field, being able to lock that position down. Nia in the outfield. And then right field, left field kind of have a combination. Claypool, I don't know if you remember Kate Claypool, fiery player. She's competing every day. Every day she comes out and she's getting better and better. And then Riley Sheehy was transferred from Marshalltown. So those kids are fighting for that last position in the outfield. But I feel good about our defense. I think we're getting very solid now. It's taken us 2 weeks to feel that way. When you first get started after Christmas break, you're like, oh my goodness, what are we getting ourselves into? But every day they're getting stronger. Every day they're getting better. You're seeing them locking down the positions and really being able to get that starting lineup. So we're excited. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from our first game. And having that opportunity to kind of know where our base is going to be, where our starting lineup is going to be, is a good position.
What's going to be the keys, and this will be kind of my last questions there, with you and Coach Prater and Coach Dillinger and your staff, between now and then once you get on the field finally and play some games in Florida and then beyond as you go with the Big Ten schedule, to being successful in the internal goals in this such a unique season with a unique schedule, but everybody in the Big Ten is going through it. So what is it going to be like? What's going to be the keys to be successful from your standpoint with this young roster that you will, with a lot of young players starting?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. I mean, it's tenacity. It's being able to go out every game and play your game, because you can see these teams 4 times. We actually have a 4-game series this year with our home and away. With 3 games, we thought was a lot, even last year, to see the same team 3 times, and now we're going to be seeing them 4 times. So it's being able to make those adjustments, being able to get that information to our players so they know how to adjust the plate, know how to adjust with the pitchers, but staying within themselves. I think so much they worry about, well, we're seeing them 4 times. They saw us 4 times. That hitter's seen me pitch 4 times. Sorry about that. They've seen us pitch 4 times, so they know me. They know what to throw me. But you got to look different. You have to look different with your each at bat. You have to look different as a pitcher. You have to be able to make those small adjustments so they're not seeing look like the same pitcher out there, and you're able to cover the plate differently than you did before. So it's just tenacity on changing little things and just keep fighting the good fight. 1 pitch at a time. Focus on what you can do at the moment and you can for that game.
Well, we're just looking forward to seeing you all on the field soon, and that's exciting. And I know Hawkeye fans are excited to build from last season and try to build that into this year. Big Ten Conference schedule starting in Florida, in Leesburg, scheduled February 26th. Renee Gillispie here on In the Circle. Coach, good to do this once again. Good to see you. This is how everybody's seeing each other nowadays, so do the Zoom. But it's good to see you. I know you're excited once again, and Hawkeye fans are excited. So good luck this season. Be healthy, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Eric, thank you so much for having me on. It's great seeing you again. I miss you guys. So thank you for having me on, and we're looking forward to getting down to Florida and maybe seeing you at one of those games.